Hello students. So today we are going to continue with species. Yesterday we had a very brief on species. So today we are going to continue with species in detail. So let us see. Wildlife species on the basis of being threatened or extinct are being called, they are classified into different categories, isn't it? So that one we had discussed, that we have four types, that is endemic species, vulnerable species, endangered species and critically endangered species. These are the four categories that we have under species. So let us get into in detail with the species of different categories. So with the different categories, the very first one we have here is endemic species. So endemic species means, endemic species are those species of plants and animals which are found exclusively in particular area. Okay, the species which are found exclusively in particular area. Okay, there will be a particular area. Say for example, let's take this as a area, this full as some area where within this particular area the plants and animals will be found. Those species we call it as endemic species. Okay, so particular area will be there where we find plants and animals are called as endemic species. So let's take an example for endemic species. Endemic species we can take wild mango tree. Okay, wild mango tree is Panchamari Biosphere Reserve. It is found in Panchamari Biosphere Reserve, which is in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, which is in MP, Madhya Pradesh. So it is found only in particular area. Only we can see this wild mango tree in that area. You can see here in the picture or textbook of page number 81, wild mango. Okay, which is not found anywhere. It's found particularly only in suitable areas. In India we have in MP, that is in Madhya Pradesh. And next one we have, for example, gained squirrel. Okay, the second one we have example is gained squirrel. So even these gained squirrels is found only in South Asia part. Okay, these are found in particular area, that is in South Asia. Okay, South Asia, we do live in this region. Okay, there we see the gained squirrels. In the textbook you can go through with here in the page number again 81. Okay, that is figure 7.3, gained squirrel. This we have found in gained squirrel we have found in South Asia part. Okay, so and then I hope you children got an idea with endemic species. Endemic species means species which are found in particular area. On the specific area region irta, regionally what we find is called as endemic species. And the next one we have here is vulnerable species. Okay, so let's study about vulnerable species. Vulnerable species means it includes those organisms that are likely to become endangered unless the circumstances that are not fit its survival to improve. Okay, so what happens, this is vulnerable species means species that can enter into danger zone. Okay, where species, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು species ಇರುತ್ತೆ that may get enter into endangered, okay, danger zone, can get into danger zone where there won't be suitable zone for survival. That cannot be the suitable zone for survival of plants, either it may be plants or animals. Okay, vulnerable species means they are not particularly in danger, but they may get into danger zone. For such as we call it as vulnerable species. It is mainly due to loss of habitats. Okay, what may bring the causes? It is mainly due to the loss of habitat. Habitat loss agta iddange enagutte, we may lose the plants and animals, isn't it? So vulnerable species means those things. Example, we can take it as tiger. Tigers are slightly in danger. It's almost the dangerous zone. Okay. And then we have the next one, that is plant, Venus flytrap plant. Okay. Venus flytrap plant is the plant which is in vulnerable species. There is lots and lots of plants and animals which are in vulnerable species. But here I have taken with some examples with tiger and Venus flytrap plant, where it's an insectivorous plant. It's an insectivorous plant. Okay. So and then we can moving on to the next one, that is endangered species. So what is that endangered species? So endangered species means it includes all those organisms that are at risk of being extinct. Okay. So endangered species means you can either take it as animals whose number are diminishing to a level. Okay. Where animals will be there, those animals numbers what will be there, no? So that will be diminishing. Okay. Diminishing to some extent. Okay. So diminishing to a level that might face extinction are known as endangered species or animals, you can call it as. So here also I have taken example of tiger again. So tiger again is a endangered species. So what happens? It's at risk. Okay. Which is at risk of being extinct. Mundake inna adradu feeding or breeding may get lost. So for such one we call it as endangered species. And the example we have taken is tiger again here. And what may be the reasons for this? Endangered species ke yenen reasons agbodu. Reasons to get endangered. What may be? It's due to, it can be due to changing environment, predation parameters, and they are already few in number. These may be the reasons for endangered species. Okay. So let's try study in detail. So what happens? Say for example, a tiger. We'll take an example of tiger here. Tiger which is living in Madhya Pradesh. We'll take it in Madhya Pradesh. Okay. So when this tiger is moving on to the next region called Maharashtra, if this changing environment, when it's moving from Madhya Pradesh to Maharashtra, obviously the changing in environment takes place slightly, isn't it? Nan hinge anta heltala. This is a small example I have taken from Madhya Pradesh to Maharashtra. Ishtake bantashna agate antalla. It may be for the large area distance also. Just for example of explanation, I have taken these two. So when there is a changing in environment, endangered species may not live. Okay. And predation parameters. Okay. So predation parameters means where feeding for the species. For animals it may be, or for the plants, anything. So feeding when it is stopped, obviously it leads to the endangered species. And then we have here is, they are already few in number. Okay. Say for example, tiger which is day by day the number is being decreased. Isn't it? The number of being decreased in India. What is that? So that you have to check it through the Google. So day by day the number of tigers in India is decreasing. So all these parameters can lead to the endangered species. Okay. So endangered species means it includes all those organisms that are at a risk of being extinct. So that one we call it as endangered species. And the next one we have here is critically endangered species. We have gone through what? You can see here endemic species, vulnerable species, and endangered species. And the last one we have is critically endangered species. What does it mean? Critically endangered species. It means that It includes those organisms whose number left is very few. Okay, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಫುಲ್ ವೆರಿ ಫ್ಯೂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಫ್ಯೂ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್, ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ನಂಬರ್ ತುಂಬ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗೋಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ದೋಸ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಟಿಕಲಿ ಎಂಡೇಂಜರ್ಡ್ and it is likely to decrease even more. For such species we call it as critically endangered. Okay, say for example you'll take a tree. Okay, day by day a tree ಆ ಥರದ ಗಿಡಗಳು ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ, number of trees or plants when it's decreasing, or number of plants animals which is decreasing day by day. For such one we can call it as critically endangered species. It indicates the organisms with highest risk. Okay, it includes organisms with highest risk category. ತುಂಬ ಅದನ್ನು ಇವಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ನೋಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದು ಆ ಅನಿಮಲ್ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲೋ ರೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರೇರ್ ಆಲ್ ಓವರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ವಿ ಮೇ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಸಮ್ ಫ್ಯೂ. ಸೊ ಆ ಥರ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ಗೆ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ critically endangered species. I hope you children got with an idea of endemic, vulnerable, endangered and critically endangered species. Okay, and now we are at the last part of our chapter, that is red data book. What does this mean, red data book, which is important? Okay, maybe asked for 1 marks or 2 marks. Red data book. Okay, red data book means red data book is the source book. Okay, it's a source book which keeps a record of all endangered animals and plants. Okay, there will be a separate book like red data book. Okay, where the source which keeps a record of all endangered animals and plants. Here will be having record of all animals and plants. For such one we call it as red data book. The all collections, the sources, the records, what we can call it as, of all endangered animals and plant species, that we call it as red data book. So these are different red data book for plants, animals and other species. ಒಂದರಲ್ಲೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಲ್ಲೇ ತುಂಬ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ರೆಡ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಬುಕ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟ್ಲಿ ದೇರ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ರೆಡ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಬುಕ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೆಡ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಬುಕ್ ಫಾರ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಇವನ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ರೆಡ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಬುಕ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಂದೊಂದು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬುಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಸಚ್ ಒನ್ ದ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕೆ, so for such things we call it as red data book. The record which we keep for endangered animals, endangered species, for such one we call it as red data book. Okay, and next one we have is migration. So what does migration mean? Migration means it is the movement of animals from one place to another. Okay, so migration means it is movement of animals from one place. Say for example, this is one place of A, and this is of place of B. Okay, so movement of animals from one place to another, that one we call it as migration. Okay, say for example, I have taken here is birds. So birds, what happens? At certain season birds will be at place of A, and after for the next seasonal the birds will move on to the place of B. The movement which takes place of for animals and birds, that we call it as migration. Say for example, in Mysore we have Rangantettu, where for the seasonal they come here from different places. Okay, for the seasonal change. It occurs due to sudden climatic changes. So climatic changes are they come or they move to different places, and to find food, or even it may be due to to find food or more livable conditions. Okay, even that may be the reason for the movement of animals and birds for the migration. And the other reason may be for breeding also. Breeding means where offspring takes place. Okay, for such reason also migration takes place. So these may be the reasons to movement of migration for plants and animals. Okay, then the next one we have is, what is recycling of paper? Recycling of paper is the last topic. So it is the reuse of used paper in order to conserve natural resources, as it can be preventive measure against deforestation. Okay, so it is compulsory that we need to reuse the papers. Okay, so what happens, what we do is, we'll write, say for example, this is the sheet that we have. What we do, we'll write it and we'll throw it off. The next sheet won't be used. So what we need to do, use those papers for rough use. Okay, for practicing. Then for such things you can use. The used newspapers can be carried out. Okay, can be carried out, for example, to cover the fruits. Okay, to bring the fruits in supermarkets, we use recycled papers. Okay, so it is must and should that reusing of papers to be done. Instead of cutting all the trees, prati sati no tree cut ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತ ಬರೋದ್ರ ಬದಲು reuse. Let's try to reuse the papers. Recycle of papers is nothing but recycling of papers. So this completes your chapter. Reforestation is already we have learned before only while learning forestation and deforestation. With again reforestation also we have learnt. So this completes your chapter. That is conservation of plants and animals. Thank you.